Hi everybody, you've got the Lapbook Lady here, and I'm bringing you the School Life Learning Pack. So the idea behind this is that it is a discipline tool. So you know how much we love the word discipline, but it gives you something that you can send with your students to complete based on how many points you give them. So based on their discipline, you can decide, or based on the offense, you can decide how many points they need to complete before they come back to class or before they get extra stuff, whatever. You get to decide. You can adjust this however you need to. But the idea behind it is that it's based on a point system. So, like I said, you select how many points they need to complete, and I'll show you the different foldables and how that works into it. Okay, so let's just get into how to fold your lap book to begin with. Biggest side, not the small side, start with the bigger side and fold that into this center line. So this lap book is a little different than the other ones that I've done. This one is a teacher tool. So this is one you're going to be completing. This is not one that your students will be doing. Smaller edge lined up with the top, not the middle line. So it's a little different. This is more of just giving you something that's quick and easy to be able to send with your students without having to run to the photocopier or doing whatever else you need to do to send with a student that might be having some difficulty and just needing some time to not be in the classroom anymore. Okay, so title page, just put it in the middle, line it up with the center part here, make sure it's nice and straight, and then just fold over one side and mark down the middle. Okay, then you can take your scissors and cut along the line you drew so that you can have a nice even line. If you don't want to do this, you can just cut it in half, but I don't know, I like this better because it looks cleaner when you're done. And yeah, it appeals to my need for order. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is to glue just along this one edge. Here we go. Just along the one edge. And then line it up with that edge. Kind of just gives you a little more control over what you're gluing. A few big streaks on this side. Half done. Do the same thing with the other side. Just glue along that one edge. So you can kind of have a little control over how this is gonna look. Make sure your lines are nice and straight. There. And then a few big ones to hold down the rest. All right, pretty. Okay, let's get into the inside of this. All right, so obviously you are free to set this up however you want to. It doesn't really matter what you decide to do, but this is how I set it up. So you can even do this as a notebook. It doesn't need to be a lap book. You can adjust it to what works for you and your students. Okay, so this is the 25-point spinner. So you're gonna be selecting which jobs or activities you want them to do that are worth 25 points, and they can select which ones they want to do out of this. Okay, so just use a sharp pencil. I like these really tiny little paper fasteners. Of course you can use the bigger size ones, but they tend to work bigger for more than 2 sheets of paper. So if you can find these ones, I actually just bought these on Amazon. They came in a kit like this, and I got, I don't know, a whole bunch of them for not a huge amount of money. Okay, sharp pencil, unless you have a really tiny hole punch, which some people do. I don't. Okay, just stick that through, flatten the back, and then you're just going to glue the back side down. Nice lots of glue. And make sure it's straight because that's how we like things. Glue it down. Okay, so then the student can pick which activity they want to do that will be worth 25 points. The 50-point one I did for you already. It's the same thing. Put it together the same way and you can stick this on. Now, they're very tight. It's a very close fit. to fit it in here. So try and get as close to this edge as you can so it doesn't get caught in the folds when you're turning it over. If you want, you can put one here and one over here, whatever. I like it in the proper order. Okay, so the 100-point ones and the 200-point ones are the same as well. They look like this. It's this little folding pocket that's got the options inside. So there's different papers. You can print as many of these as you need, write on them as much instructions as you want for what activities or projects are worth 100 points. In the lap book, I've actually given you a few ideas of what I've used for 100 points, but I will leave that with you. Obviously, you know your class and what they can and can't do and what's going to be helpful. Things like things that will actually pertain to what they're learning always makes me happier, so then I don't feel like they're wasting their time when they're not in my classroom or they're not missing out. Okay, so how do we fold this? Just cut it out. Make sure you cut this little notch out when you're cutting it, and you're going to turn it this way and fold the bottom up, 2 flaps in, and make sure it's straight. And you're just going to glue the little flaps and then fold it up. Again, we're worried about that line there. Make sure it's straight along that more than anything. And then fold your front cover across. Come on. Okay. Got that in good. Take your papers, again, put your ideas for what you want them to do for their 200-point activities. These were things like read a book and report on it, going to the school counselor and working through a behavior plan, any of that kind of stuff. Of course, you need to decide what works for your grade level and your kids. If you have little ones, then obviously they're not going to be writing a full-blown essay. Okay, so there's your 200 points. Okay, so all the points are in. These are the ideas that they get to choose. So you're sending them to your buddy class. If you have them, we had buddy classes that we could send students back and forth when they needed to be somewhere else. If you just want them in your room in the back, wherever, and you give them, say they need to complete 1,000 points before they can come back, or 500 points or whatever. And so then they get to go through and choose what activities they want to do to complete in order to be brought back to class. It's a good idea to have something that includes pertaining to what their issue was. So if they hurt another student, then make sure that whatever it is they're doing, there's somewhere in here where they are responding to the behavior so that you can help with that. Okay, so these two are interchangeable. It's entirely up to you and how your brain works and what works and what doesn't work. If you want to put the supplies, so the supplies would be all of your, so if you have them copying spelling words, or if you have them working on handwriting, or if you have them writing out sections of your student handbook, that's a really good one if they're in violation of the student handbook. If you, any of the actual material that they're going to need to be able to complete the activities that you have chosen here for them to do. Okay, so that can either go there, or you can put that one on the back like this. I somehow like to put it in here because then the inside is all of the stuff that they can choose from, and then I can just grab the work out of the back and we can talk about it and do whatever it is we need to do to make sure that that particular student is ready to come back into class. Okay. So just glue along the edges like that, and then you can slip the worksheets, or actually extra loose leaf is a good one to have in here so they have something that they can actually use to work on. Slip a pencil in there, whatever you want, okay? And then on the back, we're going to put their finished work or their supplies. You, like I said, interchange it, whatever works for you. Flip these around. And fold it up. Okay. So same as the supplies folder. Make sure that this one is on the outside. If it's on the inside, it tends to be hard to get papers to stay in them. Okay, so that's where they're gonna put everything that they've finished that you can then talk about afterwards. I got this idea from a parenting site, and I figured that it would be something that would be very helpful for me in my classroom and my situation. Obviously you need to adjust it, so I've tried to make it as adaptable as I can for you. I hope that this helps and is something that you actually can find useful. Happy classrooms, everyone.